London convoys back to Picardy.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad move, okay? Because France needed the dot. England apparently thinks that with the other fleets coming around, the 2 units he's got is enough to keep Germany from advancing in the Atlantic. France got given a dot to maintain a unit. Now he's got it back on the continent where it can actually do some good. It might not necessarily be a bad thing. It's a board balance issue. It's lending a dot to an ally, and the judgment of it isn't what's going on now. The judgment of it is how it works.
Just move you've got a lot of sky above your head there. If you that's a bit better, yeah.
I'm only on my phone. I apologize, folks.
No, you're good. Germany moves Norway to Sweden. Is that trying to say to England, look, I don't want to make any more of an enemy of you than I already have. Let's call it quits, or what?
Well, something is going on. Norway could have gone to Norwegian. Norway could have supported Skagerrak to North Sea. I think what happened is, if you'll recall, Fall 04, Germany made a little bit of a tactical error, dislodged Burgundy without anything to cover Munich, and France retreated to Munich. And I think the combination of the convoy to London and the retreat to Munich maybe made Greg take pause for a quick second, because that really upended the game. So I think maybe what you're seeing there is a reassessment and trying to figure out exactly how he's going to proceed. I think Greg is a cautious guy, so I assume what's going on here is a little bit of caution.
He doesn't force Munich. That's the other thing that jumps out at me. Kiel doesn't lend support to Berlin. Burgundy was cut anyway, but that doesn't attempt to. Munich, France walks out of Munich. I don't really know why any of these moves happen.
Well, I think what you're seeing here is the part of the game that you don't gain the ability to assess just by looking at a map, just by looking at moves. I don't think what's going on here is tactics. I think what's going on here is relationship management. I think the only person who could really explain what's going on here is Greg. The one thing we know for sure is Greg knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
So that's what you've got going on there.
Meanwhile, he asks me to go for Marseille. Notice how he hasn't supported that move with Burgundy. And
I also notice how Spain is supporting Burgundy to Marseille.
Yeah. So well, maybe, yeah. That's clearly not it wouldn't have been a bounce, would it? So I don't know why that is. So that really really threw me. My problem was, I felt, because if you remember when we were looking at 1904, I was trying to help France defend Burgundy from Germany, and didn't try steal Marseille. And France went to Germany and said, Italy's told me this is the plan, and I had to deny it. I thought I couldn't say no to this ask from Germany, because I'd used up political capital, if you like, in that just evaporated. So, and this is a key moment in the game, actually. This one move, Piedmont to Marseille, we'll see France react quite nuclear to. personally, I feel that France still had a great position in this game. I was concerned that England was going to throw to France, and we were going to have a monster France. And we tried to negotiate an arrangement, and that obviously didn't come off. But
there was
lots of
tons
black
of
arrows in the
here.
west, and lots of red arrows in the east.
Lots of potential here. I mean, Germany was at 8, France was at 7, you were at 7. If you and France could have gotten on the same page, this board would have been heading towards a 3-way that at the end of it all would have been competitive. Yeah. But France's moves here, again, are really, really chaotic. He makes no attempt to force Burgundy. He continues to not cover Brest. He moves out of Munich to Ruhr. Basically, he's going to get popped. There's no way he's not going to get popped. He lets Germany get Munich back without even having to dislodge him. And if I'm France and I'm in that position and I say, okay, I cannot keep Munich, I say, okay, kick me out. You kick me out, and then I'm going to figure out where I retreat. I'll have maybe Ruhr. I'll have maybe Silesia. I'll have maybe Bohemia. I'll have maybe Tyrolia. And I'm going to have the most forward advanced unit on the board, and I'm going to make use of it. And France does the worst thing he can do with that army, which is I'm going to go back into Ruhr, where A, it's not going to protect any dots I own. B, it's not going to be able to take any of Germany's dots. C, it can't receive support from anybody. And ultimately, D, it's just going to get dislodged and popped. And seeing France cooperate with Germany, giving Munich back, while France moves his fleets up into Neo and Mayo, I would think England would be pretty furious at this point. And you're going to see exactly how furious England was with dealing with France's waffling and going back and forth in the next move. More slow slog in the East, and there's a story there, but this is not our AAR. This is about how Germany topped this board, and the short version of what's going on in the East is we can't get our act together. We can't get any forward momentum. Neither one of us is coming anywhere near the stalemate line. Neither one of us is putting ourselves in a position to keep Germany from taking Moscow or Warsaw. There's no opposition to Germany here. And this is, a lot of this, as I've said before, was my fault. A lot of this was your fault. And then we're about to see, when you skip to the next season, France burnt his last straw with England when he made no attempt to take Burgundy, made no attempts to cover anything, walked out of Munich, and we're going to see that right now. Let's take a look at it. The ultimate irony of it here is England takes London, England takes Brest, France doesn't take Liverpool. It's just an absolute. I mean, it's good for stopping the solo in the long run because it gives England enough units to be able to keep Germany out of the North Sea. But beyond that, this turn here was an utter disaster. You managed to keep Marseille. Germany did not support him back into Marseille yet. You're starting to have some hope that things are going to go good.
I assumed like France was getting Liverpool and Belgium here, right? And I thought, well, I'll hold on to Marseille. Thank you very much, just so you don't get too big and you can't, attack me and stuff. And we tried to arrange, for my units to move away one at a time to give room to defend. This was a diplomatic failure, as you can see.
I'll go ahead and jump forward in time and use my insight a little bit. I know that France is a very, very good player, and his reputation is outstanding. But he was very difficult to negotiate with in this game. He was very difficult to talk to in this game he was furious with everybody. He was furious with England. He was furious with you. By the time I was done talking to him, not because I'd done anything wrong with my units to offend him, but just because I spoke to him poorly, because sometimes I have a short temper, especially when I'm talking to someone that I think isn't reading a map well.
That's everybody.
By the time, yeah, everybody except for Greg, apparently. But it was very difficult to negotiate with France because France, by this point, France already knows he's not advancing. He's not getting a bye next season. He's surrounded by people who've lied to him. And the question is, who lied to him least? And the ultimate irony of it all is the man who lied to France least was the man who orchestrated his destruction. And that is top-notch play. And that is why France was Germany's puppet through this entire game. And Greg deserves a golf clap. I won't say round of applause because I can't be enthusiastic about this kind of garbage. But he deserves a golf clap for the way he controlled this situation. He manipulated it. Me and that symbol again. He manipulated it perfectly.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. It's pulling the strings without, he's not the one to put the knife in. Just creates the climate for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest of the game to get France to do what he wants. He doesn't got to give him dots. He doesn't got to give him position. He doesn't got to refrain from taking dots. All he has to offer France to maintain France's allegiance is a promise of revenge. And when you're not the guy that's having the revenge taken out against you, helping a guy get revenge is free. So it's pure genius. Pure genius. What's next?
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is well orchestrated by Greg. But yeah, this stab, this by England was just so surprising to me. I did not see it coming. I assumed like Liverpool and Belgium were going to France. I didn't see England giving up North Sea to go for London, giving up Channel to go for Brest. Yeah, considering that exactly a year ago he convoyed a French army into London, I did not see this quick switch.
I think the diplomacy between spring and fall of 1905 between France and England went very, very poorly. And there wasn't any reason to expect it to go well. France had nothing here to feel positive about, nothing to look forward to. There wasn't going to be a resurrection here. He was, at best, being offered to be a rump flank to stop a big Germany. But he wasn't going to get very much for it. Even if he got Belgium, he wasn't going to get very much for it. And it's hard to keep a player's attention span when they don't see themselves getting anything that they value. And there wasn't a lot going on here that France had to look forward to that had any value.
That army, as you rightly pointed out, the one in Ruhr gets blown up. It's hard to know why. The irony is, of course, that if he'd stayed there in the spring, he would have kept that dock because he retreats to Berlin if he's kicked out this turn.
Well, it's true. It's true. I won't engage in blaming France for how this game went. No one deserves less blame for how this game went other than Russia and Austria than France. England did everything right other than he started the game out very aggressively hostile to France, but then didn't get anywhere. But the fault here is more the other side of the line never got their act together. And if I'm France and I'm looking at Italy and Austria and Turkey never getting their act together, I know I'm not getting anything positive out of this game. So I cannot possibly engage in blaming France for having a bad attitude about how this game is going to go. It just shows that, pay attention. It just shows that France can read a map. And he knew he was screwed.
Well, I mean, there is coordination in the East here. I mean, it's against you, but there is coordination this turn between Russia, Austria, and Italy.
Well, it is 1905. And it's a game that ends. It's a game that ends in 1910. And you and Austria are engaged in a game of how hard and how fast can we shove every unit we have in the corner, nowhere near the board leader.
Yeah, but the counter to that is, well, England and France, well, before this turn, were in a good position against Germany. As long as they don't blow that up, as happens here, then there's no real urgency in the East attacking Germany.
Well,
it wasn't a massive threat this year until these set of moves.
Well, I'll give the diplomacy hobby a quick community service announcement here. Okay, if your game strategy relies on a thought process of, well, I will eliminate Eric Brunel quickly and then move on to my next set of priorities, that's a losing strategy, because I am the best player in the hobby because of my sterling personality and my history with it. I am the best person in the hobby at playing with no allies. And I die very, very slowly. And
for my tuppence worth, I'd say you'd have died a whole lot slowly if Austria had done as planned. But well, it certainly made me sort of change tack a couple of times.
Well, you guys got me knocked down to 4 here. You got. Hold on, I got to replace the earpiece. Are you still there?
Yeah, we got.
Okay, you guys got me knocked down to 4 here. You got a big, bold accomplishment. And, hey, Wardy, help me out. You've got the bigger screen in front of you. Mine's a little smaller. So I'm going to ask you to do the count here. How many dots have you gained since stabbing me?
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you. We've lost that. So let's just move on.
Zero, brother. Zero dots since stabbing me.
Marseille.
I love those 2 bills.
Marseille.
Yeah, and look what that gets you. All right, let's go to the next season.
Anything else we need to talk about before we go to the build?
No, and I think the seasons are going to start moving more quickly here, much more quickly. This game is rapidly coming to a close, even though it's not coming to an end. Okay.
Well, in fact, this is where I think Ewok ultimately wins the game. These pulls from France sent me absolutely crazy, because that is, if England and France had patched things up. I mean, this build from England isn't great, Fleet Liverpool, but they could have still done quite a lot. France could have, England and France could have curtailed Germany quite well, but not with blowing up 2 armies in the middle of the French homeland when there's a German army in Picardy.
You're still trying to blame France here, and I'm not going to let you do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you do it.
This is a throw.
Of course it's a throw, all right? England convoyed France to London, then convoyed them back to Picardy, then took London and Brest, okay? Everything, if I'm France here, everything that I have to say for England for the rest of the game only takes 6 keys. Okay, and the only reason it takes 6 keys is because you don't need 7, because the first word's got a U in the middle of it, and the second word's got a U at the end. Because that's the only thing that France has to say to England for the rest of this game. And
He
that
doesn't do
is
anything
not
against
France's
England, though.
fault.
It's all reserved for me because I took Marseille at the urging of Germany, which I couldn't say no to because France ratted me out in the first place.
Well, but this works to Germany's advantage. Okay,
Absolutely.
If France abandons that southern front, okay, and goes up and tries to take Liverpool and pressures England from the back, all he does is give away all those southern dots to you. And you will actually try and keep them from Germany. France, by staying in them and keeping you out of them, puts himself in a position to give them to Germany whenever he wants. France is no longer trying to get revenge on England. France is trying to throw the game to Germany.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there. There's a difference there. England screwed France. You screwed France.
Not as much as Germany screwed France. That's the irony, as you pointed out.
Yeah. Yeah. Germany definitely screwed him more, but he did it in a very, very skillful way. He didn't lie to him. He didn't insult his intelligence. He didn't insult his dignity.
If France pulls the units down here, he does keep Iberia, and he probably gets Marseille back.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
Because I give it him back to fight Germany, and he's back in the game. But my diplomacy failed on that front.
Yeah. For you to make that case to France after you went in there and stole Marseille the way you did, the only person on this board, I think, who had any ability to talk to France at this point and to even have a chance of getting him back on board would have been Austria. And Austria wasn't engaging in that kind of diplomacy because
but he did try. He did try with France and England both. I think we both tried to get England to take up position in the North Sea here, which you'll see. Shall we head through to Spring?
Yes, please.
He doesn't do that. He only sends one to bounce Germany, who has moved his other fleet into Norway. So that's going to likely fall, especially as now there's 2 units on Brest, and he probably needs to hold that with Fleet English Channel. So, yeah, none of this is ideal. Of course, this is skewed as well by the fact that apart from trying to win and trying to throw, there is a third option here to motivate players, and that is to try and get enough points to finish in the top 21 finishers in the standings from the semi-finals to get a bye to the semi-finals for season 8, which at this point England was aiming for, it seems. So he thought, right, I'm not going to try and win. Just need to defend what I've got and take whatever French dots I can. He was going after Iberia to try and secure a 2nd or 3rd place on the board to try and get top 21.
Well, if you're playing a 7-board semifinal and the top 21 get a bye in the next season, rough basic math without actually being detail oriented or worried about accuracy at all, but just a general rule of thumb is that the top 3 players on the board, on every board, are going to advance. Okay? If I'm England looking at this map and I go and I look at the other boards and I see board gate B, Boeing, ending in a 10-8-8-8 draw, I start to realize my 3/4 centers probably isn't going to get me across that finish line. I don't think England at this point is thinking he has a chance in heck of getting a bye. France doesn't think he has a chance of getting a bye. I don't know if Austria thinks he thinks he has a chance of getting a bye. I know at this point, I don't think I have a chance to get in a bye. So the question is, what is Italy? You might know that you might have some insight here. What is Italy thinking here? Is Italy thinking he has a chance to top this board? Is he just playing to get a bye next season? What is Italy trying to accomplish here?
I'm playing for the win. I'm still at this point trying to patch things up with France. We're fighting here because that was flatly sort of denied. I wasn't getting anything back from France at this point in the game. So I was still trying to get England and France to work together against Germany, which was very, very hard with the units that are in the West.
And this realistically, this was the very last season that you thought you were still playing for a win. Am I correct?
I don't know. When I saw those polls, that was when I thought, before in the fall of the previous year we were looking at, that was when I was at my height. I thought I've got the best chance. Immediately, that was dashed with those polls. But we're still trying to make something happen, Austria and me. Not the best tactics here, but we are trying to now put a bit of pressure on Germany in the middle of the board. The price of that was to feed Trieste to Austria, although he did swap for Bulgaria.
What was the thought process behind sending a Aegean West? By sending a Aegean West, you pretty much guarantee you're never going to kill me.
I'd sort of given up on killing you at this point. We've just lost your picture, Eric. I'll let you back. I was worried about that fleet, that French fleet in Wes. If he'd gone to Tyrrhenian, that would have completely collapsed my position.
Yeah, I guess you needed that to cover Naples. Okay. All right. That makes sense. You had Venice to cover Rome. You needed something to cover Naples. All right. What else did Greg do here that's interesting? He picked up Paris. He forced Burgundy again.
Silesia.
Berlin to Silesia. He continues to move to Moscow from St. Pete so that he takes Moscow if Russia ever gets Sev, and Russia continues to not care. Russia only cared about one thing, and that's revenge against me, and that's deservedly so, given how this game went. So, once again, Germany doesn't have to give Russia anything to get his allegiance. All he's got to sell him is revenge against me. Yeah. It's a very, very advantaged position.
And this has been the same since the start. Even though he bounced Sweden, there was because he had more trouble in the South Russia against the AT initially. There was Sweden was forgiven immediately.
Yeah. Now, Austria goes up to Warsaw, and now that'll knock. This is a spring move, so we still got to fall to see what goes on. But Russia is looking at possibly being knocked down to 1. Let's see how that affects his subservience to Germany. Let's go ahead and move into the fall.
I lose Marseille. I was expecting a different move set and tried to convoy around the corner.
You knew which enemies you were facing. You knew you were going to lose it. You had to come up with a way to try and save it. You did the best you could.
Well, the irony, of course, is that if I just supported Marseille to Spain, it would have worked. I was expecting Wes to cut Leon or something, but I tried. I was too clever.
Yeah, well, I tell you what. Remember, France's goal here isn't revenge against England. Isn't revenge against you. It's throwing the game to Germany. and that move to Turanian, and you're going to see that in the seasons that proceed from this. Think of how many of your units it tied up.
Yeah.
You know, it was a very good, very loyal, very pro-German move. And, you know, I think at this point, when you look at the moves that he's making with the rest of his pieces, Greg has earned that loyalty. I want to point out here, Derek in England is making very smart moves here. Very smart moves here. He has made the decision, hey, I'm probably going to ultimately lose Brest. Brest is secondary. What I really need to make sure of here is that I don't lose the Atlantic front to Germany. This is the beginning of England's fate for the rest of this game.
It is. Sadly, he should already be in North Sea.
North Sea should
be in
have
North
never...
Sea, and the risk to Germany is that if he hits him out, then he can retreat into one of his coastal dots like Holland.
Shame on both of them.
He's not.
Shame on both of them. England should have never let North Sea be empty. Okay? And shame on Germany. Germany had the opportunity. He could have gotten to North Sea before England was in a position to ever lock him out of it. Back when I was saying he should have sandbagged him into St. Pete and then kicked him back out of St. Pete in the fall. They both could have handled that better. And that's why they end up struggling against each other for the entire game.
In addition to that Silesia army, we also have another German army moving into the main stalemate line, the no man's land, if you like, Munich to Tyrolia as I exit. And this is a turn where Austria and I stab each other.
Yeah, why don't you let the viewers know what went on that convinced you that you'd let what convinced you that Austria was a threat at this point? You just spent the past 2 years giving them 2 builds that should have been yours, getting nothing out of the deal. Why did you now decide that now is the time to attack Austria?
Because I needed someone to try and contain Germany with me. And Austria was very sort of wriggly. He'd wriggle out of situations, and I couldn't sort of pin him down for stuff. At this point, I thought probably best. It's too late to deal with Turkey. I kind of need Turkey on my side now. Otherwise, if I go to the line, I'm going to get dotted from behind at the end by you anyway. Best to show you a path through Austria, who doesn't seem that keen on helping me contain the board leader anyway.
Did Austria ever have any real interest in containing Germany?
I think he wanted it done. I'm not sure he ever really felt like he was in much of a position to do it and keep himself in contention at the same time. So I think he was working hard diplomatically, like I was on England and France. But he was far too interested in trying to get like Warsaw and stuff than moving up and giving Germany a headache. So at this point, I thought I need an end game alliance now, and you were my choice.
I just want to point out here, I'm going to come back to a previous theme. At this point in the game, the only resistance Germany has faced from anybody, the only threat that he has faced from anybody, is England at the 11th hour deciding to defend North Sea. One unit attack on Belgium and a subsequent retreat to Munich. That is the only hostility that Germany has faced all game.
Hey, I was in Tyrone for exactly one season.
You were tied, but you never once threatened him. You never once attacked him. You never once were within 2 spaces of him. He never had any opposition at all. You were not trying to beat him. You were hoping to outrace him.
Yeah, I suppose I was. At this point, I'm already quite concerned about him. Well, you know, I'm trying to do it, but I can't really because there's a great big space in the middle of the board here. There's no line.
Well,
I
I'm
thought Turkish armies
and...
are likely to do a better job than Austrian army. You weren't dead, so Austria is always going to be looking over his shoulder. If you're there, you're not looking behind you because no one's behind you. You're in the corner.
Well, and the viewers might as well know, because I think this is a relevant piece of conversation. This honestly is effectively the end of this game. Because at this point in the game is when you and I opened a three-way conversation with Germany, both of us going to him and saying, look, we are not going to beat you. We are not going to stop you. You are going to win this game. Let's work this out in a way
I don't think we're quite there yet. I think it's a year from now, but yeah, this is it's difficult to topple him from here. So that if I go forward into the build, we'll get the updated dot count there. He's on 10. He's 3 ahead of me in second. And my units are all over the place. I'm so spread out.
I am in third place at 4 dots.
Yeah. So maybe a buy for England is still possible at this front. It's at this point I suggest to France. I'm still working on this front. I'm saying to France, go to Rome next turn. I'll boot you out. Build an army. We'll open up. We came up with a plan to open up Marseille. Build an army. You can still, if you and England are, gonna try and get on the same page for more than a turn, you've got a chance here of some sort of comeback, because there could be as many as 5 years. This could go up to 1911.
I can see how you might have been hoping for that, but I'm still thoroughly convinced at this point that France is entirely invested in throwing the game to Germany. And if France was talking that kind of talk to you, he was engaging. You're British, so you'll know this one, I'm sure. Do you know what the Irish definition of diplomacy is?
Oh no, I've not heard this.
Yeah, it's the Irish definition of diplomacy is saying nice doggy until you find a large enough rock.
I mean, that might well be the case. But if we go forward one, he does do the moves that we agreed. Whereas he could have been, it could have been more detrimental had he have done another move. So he could have gone to like Tunis, and that would have been a bit more difficult because I wasn't in Ionia and you were. So I kind of still hoped he was on board at this sort of 11th hour thing. Meanwhile, Germany has got another fleet on the board and has moved it adjacent to the North Sea, but England has read that and has moved. It moved out to NAO first and now to Norwegian. So that's 3 on 3 over there. He gets kicked out of Brest by Germany and into NAO.
Derek deserves a lot of credit for that position. I want to honestly say other than Greg, who was a genius in every possible way, Derek setting himself up with those 3 units to hold on to North Sea until the very, very, very end of the game was the only tactically sound, reasonable play that you can consistently point to on this board season after season after season. And Derek stopped a German solo, and he deserves credit for that.
What else do we have? You and I are working together, moving forward here, which is probably too little too late given the circumstances in the West.
It is definitely too little too late, but for people who are looking at it, it is illustrative because it shows how quickly IT can mop up the eastern half of the board if they coordinate with each other. And the answer is very, very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. When there's coordination, you're right. Yeah.
For a good example of that, I recommend that everyone go review the orders from game B.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that in time. Germany could have walked into Warsaw here.
He could have walked into Warsaw, but then he would have had one unit hanging out there with not a lot of support, kind of hollow in the middle, which is consistent with Greg's play throughout this game. I control this board. I have dominance. I'm not going to do any gambits that risk that dominance. I'm going to play conservative and let everyone else on this board chase each other's tails, which is exactly what he's doing.
Fair enough. At this point, he's saying to me he's trying to assist. I sort of give Tyrolia something to do because I know that Vienna's not going to, isn't doing anything that that is needed to take Trieste. Yeah, this is rapidly coming to an end now. My last roll of the dice is this trick with Rome to try and get more armies into France. But yeah, as we see, if we roll forward into the fall, he retreats it into Tuscany. He told me that 10 minutes before the deadline that he didn't want to do it anymore.
Did he give you a reason why?
I think he felt his game was over and felt I was just trying to get him to do my dirty work for him.
What didn't he tell you at the very end to not take Rome back? That you should let him keep Rome so he could get the build, and that if you dislodged him, he wasn't retreating it off the board to pick up a build. He was going to stay in Tuscany. Didn't he try and talk to you into letting him
he said something along those lines, yeah. And I just felt, well, I'm not falling for that.
No, that was just him again trying to get revenge on the people who'd screwed him and to do whatever he could to be.
We had a deal. I don't think I lied to him at any point during the game. That's the ironic thing. I don't think I lied to him once. I didn't tell him I was going to Marseille, but I did everything else right after that.
Oh, a diplomacy player's definition of a lie. I love it. Yeah. Whether you lied or not, you didn't treat him honestly, brother. And if you ask him, he'll tell you the same thing. All right. So I think we could roll through the rest of this really rapidly. I think at this point, there's a little bit of subterfuge. The next thing that happens, go ahead and go to the next season.
I just want to point out the board tagging here by Ewok. He does try and spell out the village idiot, which he did in the finals last time around, and because of the backstabber bug, where if you put in an erroneous order, it won't count as being supported, and lost St. Petersburg to Riaz. No such issues this time, but I think he feels like this one isn't big enough. So let's move forward to these builds. MAO is gone, as you'd expect. England's still trying to defend the North Sea. Army Munich rather than Army Berlin. He's clearly concerned about me booting him out of Tyrolia, I guess. But I think it's at this point we go to him and say, let's just, well done, you've won. We'll get our buys and just call the game.
The only thing that happens between now and that conversation is when Tyrolia supports Piedmont to Venice. And then you've got to put that army in Naples and bring it around and take Venice back.
Ah, yes. There's this one last season, isn't there? Yeah.
Yes.
You are correct. So let's move forward to that. There we go. Oh, here's the VI. Here's the board tagging, but I think we'll see another one of those. Yeah, he's trying to get into position to support Warsaw. But look, Austria's trying to throw to Germany now as well.
Austria was always trying to throw to Germany, I believe.
Yeah, so I have trouble in Venice, but this is rapidly. Was that a misordered convoy?
That was a misordered convoy by me. I screwed up.
Black convoy, Armenia to black. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that. Backstabber is good to screw me on at least one fat finger faux pas at least once a game, and that was it.
Yeah. Oh, right. I remember this conversation now in this season. We were thinking, right, is there a way that one of us can win by hoovering up the other's dots? It was impossible for it to go to me, and in the end, we looked at the at seeing what you can achieve, and if France wasn't going to defend Iberia, then it was just folly.
Yeah, so I remember the conversation. I was being selfish and trying to use tactics as my lever on you. I say, listen, we can maybe get ahead of him if we cannibalize each other, and you have to give me your dots. Yeah. Because for me to give you my dots, you have to move away from the front, and you have to move towards the front. So you need to give me your dots.
Yeah.
And
this is why I tried to kill you in the first place. Because I knew it would end in this manner.
You righteously and intelligently said no. So, we got a good natural result anyway. But I think that Germany supporting Piedmont to Venice here is worth some mention. Okay, Germany knew that he wasn't going to be able to help France keep Venice, but France getting into Venice was the most offensive success that he had in this entire game. It was the only moment of satisfaction that France got out of this entire game. And Greg gave it to him. He could then turn around after you took Venice back and shrug his shoulders and say, hey, I couldn't stop that. I tried. Sorry. And that guarantees France's ongoing loyalty at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And as you'll see, when we scroll through these moves at the end of the game, France was perfectly happy if it came to it to let Germany take all of his dots. Germany just didn't bother because he's worried about the meta, and he's worried now about having a good relationship with me and you the next time we're on a board together, the next time we're in a tournament together. He's already won this game. He's already the top seed for the Paris method. He had no reason to take all those dots and cost us enough points that we didn't get a bye.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
He played France like a Stradivarius violin all game. And he was a virtuoso while he did it.
A well-deserved victory. This is just tidying up really over here. He's into Warsaw. He's into Marseille. We finish off Austria. Russia's now down to just the one.
Well, if we've already admitted you and I were now in talks with Greg about, hey, help us get enough points that we get a bye. All right. Yeah. And you see me attacking Sev, okay, and taking Sev from Russia. All right. And I was doing that because Greg had promised me Moscow. And he reneged on that and he took it for himself. He wanted to make sure he kept his top seed. He did the math.
So this was it here. You were supposed to now at this point get it, but I was very, very nervous about your builds here. I think maybe I didn't appreciate just how daunting you felt I might have been in this situation. I just felt, oh, he's going to try and screw me here. So I was.
Well, my builds here were because of 1903.
The Triple
fleet.
Army build.
I pulled that fleet. 1902 was the Triple Army build. 1903, I disbanded Fleet Aegean. And you looked at Fleet Aegean off the board, and instead of saying, Turkey cannot possibly threaten me now, we can cooperate with each other, you said, he's got nothing to defend his coast. So I'm going to go take his stock, which is what you tried to do. So now I'm in that position again, and there was no way I was waiving builds. You insisted that I waive builds. You tried to heavy hand me, and I gave you the bird, and I put the builds down.
Oh yeah, you flipped it. You flipped it rather, which to a Brit like myself was shocking, frankly, sir. Good gosh. Have you ever seen anything quite so ghastly, Margaret?
Those ghost Americans.
But yeah, so some shenanigans occur really, but because I just thought let's talk because Greg let us both know independently, I think, that he was going on holiday around the scheduled or before the scheduled start time of the finals. And so suddenly the prospect of a second place became quite like the elephant in the room between us. We thought, if he can't play, I mean, I don't know what Kudasov would have done, but maybe would have gone to Bradley Grace, who was top of the standings, or after being tipped to the board top by John Anderson in their game. Equally, it could have gone to second place on our board. So I thought, he's going to try and just overtake me at the last second. So that was my concern.
That's exactly what I was going to do.
Really?
In retrospect, having seen everything, I do not believe that Greg cared about setting one of us up to have a good shot to advance to the final board if they would not accommodate his vacation. I think that if Greg knew that he was not going to be accommodated and he would not be allowed to play in the finals, he would have done everything he could to solo this board just to throw it into chaos and just to prove that it was his if he'd wanted it. I believe that all of his talk about, well, hey, whoever gets second might advance to the final board. I believe that was just him using relationship management and keeping control of us because it was very effective and he was successful at it. This is my last piece of tactics here, okay? The only thing going on this board that's interesting at all is you now see Fleet Kiel moving to Helgoland Bight. That gives Germany his fourth fleet. That guarantees that Germany is going to get North Sea. And if this game did not have an artificial time limit end, this game was going to end in a German solo.
Yeah, 100%.
Why don't you move through?
Yeah. There's the other VI tag in case the other one wasn't big enough. He felt the Nexus didn't properly appreciate the smaller one, so he's gotten bigger this time. We have a little bit of a squabble down in the Balkans. Now I was convinced. I was convinced. I was just I could have. I think stopped one or the other of these from happening, but I thought you were going to be greedy. I thought I'm trying to remember the tactics there. I went through like loads of sandboxes to try and outguess, and it was all obsolete anyway, because you went for the guarantee thing.
I'm going to sell myself out here. People don't always know that I was an interrogator in naval intelligence. And if I want to screw with your head, I will do it. And this game here, I screwed with your head. I spent that entire turn telling you, I'm taking Greece, you can't stop it, I'm taking Greece. I had you so worried about Greece, you didn't even look at Serbia for 2 seconds. And that's what got done to you there.
Yeah, so if you'd I'm trying to remember what moveset mine was a counter to. But I thought that you were going to support down and Rum follow up and Black Sea maybe. There was method to my madness, but that's why I did that tap on Serbia.
I told you I was taking Greece. You rightfully said, well, if he's going to try and take Greece, he's going to try and take it from Serbia. So what you were trying to do there is you were trying to create a 3-on-3 bounce.
Yeah. Well, I only went. Yeah. Well, I only went 2, didn't I?
Well, you did. Okay. Remember, I'm doing this broadcast from my phone.
Yeah.
The mover here for you was Greece.
Yeah,
Trieste and Budapest tried to support Greece to Serbia, right?
Yeah. Well, no, Trieste didn't, but yeah, Budapest did.
Trieste and Budapest. What was the mover? I can't see the screen. Was the mover
Budapest
was the mover Greece?
Supports Greece to Serbia, but Trieste cut Serbia.
All right, that's just poor play, Wardy. That was it.
I'm trying to remember what the moveset would be. What would Serbia be supporting? I can't remember.
Trieste should have been supporting Greece to Serbia, not moving to Serbia.
Well, yes, but that then wasn't guaranteed. What I was trying to do, I think, was try and get rid of both. I think
you were never going to get rid of both. Hey, Chris, you can't read a map.
I'm going to have to remember what it was that I was trying to combat there.
Well, that's a different broadcast. That's a different broadcast.
I get
we spent a lot of time in this game.
And Spain. I imagine France wasn't very happy about that being supported in by Germany, but this is where we are.
I don't think France cared very much by this point.
Germany's into North Sea, so that would have been Solo City. France pulls Wes, keeps Mao. Might as well roll this on. We were hoping that would draw there. It didn't. And this is the final turn. France, I think France may have been the holdout on the draw, but making a last minute play for Liverpool by the looks of it. And the last thing we did this tag was the P for Power, who sadly died during the semi-final phase of this tournament. We'll get to his game in due course. I think that was the one that Krill topped. And that was all she wrote. Ewok, a huge victory in the end, 5 clear dots, and frankly, that's only because he wasn't motivated to go and get more.
Well, and I want to point out yet again, the most hostility and the most opposition that Greg faced that entire game was a 1-unit attack on Belgium and a subsequent retreat to Munich. Nobody ever threatened Greg all game. He controlled this game and all other 6 players in it, except for Derek, who did his job properly. He controlled every other player on this board from beginning to end. Everybody who played on this board who is not named Derek, including people who are named Chris and Eric, should be very embarrassed and very ashamed of how they executed this game. They gave it to Greg on a silver platter from beginning to end.
And to think I was so pleased for so long as well during that game, and it all turned to dust. This isn't a problem he's having, or a luxury he's having in the final so far. We saw in spring 1901 the Jordan opening to Wales and the Channel. So he's under a bit more pressure in the finals game. So we'll see how he fares.
There is a natural ebb and flow, not to the game, not to a particular game on a board, but to this hobby. There is a natural ebb and flow. And if you are successful enough, long enough, you will suffer for it. The only player in the history of the hobby who I have not seen ever go through a bad cycle where he suffered board after board after board for being a victim of his own success is Chris Martin. Chris Martin is the only person who is such a good relationship manager that all of his successes never caught up with him and put him in a position where he was targeted by multiple players across multiple boards over multiple cons. He's the only one who's never had that done to him. What is happening to Greg in the finals game right now is that he is a victim of his own success. Now, will he parlay that? Will he be able to use his early challenges and use that to get some sympathy and turn things around so that he can get a sustainable position on that board? Greg is definitely a good enough relationship manager to accomplish exactly that. And I guarantee you that's what he's trying to do right now. But the reason that he has an Italian army in Piedmont and England in the Channel and Wales is because Greg right now is suffering for being a victim of his own success. And we should all aspire to someday over the course of our career in this hobby to have that kind of problem. We should all be so lucky.
It's not a problem I have. I'm just a victim of my own inadequacy.
Hey, Chris, you're a nice guy. You're a fun guy, but I'm going to go ahead and call the long shot right now. You're never going to have that problem, brother.
Well, I aim to surprise you.
Chris, I got nothing but love for you. Nothing but love. Just please take note. When I say nothing but love, that excludes respect. Okay? All right, let's wrap it up. Let's not make these people watch us laugh at each other. Let's wrap it up.
Well, thank you very much. On that note, the next time that you see us, we'll probably be talking about fall 1901 in the finals and the builds. However, the game is paused, hopefully temporarily, because
Matt Krill, please
Matthew
feel better,
Krill, I believe, is feeling unwell. So get well soon, Krill. So depending on how long that takes, we'll either do the video to cover the rest of 1901, or we'll cover the next semi-final, which I think will be be and Karthik's success on that one. Thank you very much for joining / insulting me, Eric.
We have one more important order of business today.
Say that again.
Today is Riyadh's. We have.
Oh, well, he's gone abruptly, and I will too. Thank you very much. See you next time.